if you want to take this, like what Chomsky and the liberals and Americans generally take this this attitude where you prize above all else individual freedom, individual liberty, and all of that, then you have to be Ted Kaczynski. You have to move off into the woods, build your own cabin, cut your own wood. Ideally not send letter bombs, but mind your own business. Be off. Go to Montana, in the middle of nowhere, and live off the land. And then you'll see how much actual freedom you have, where you have to actually scrounge for your daily bread. But that's only because if you want to live in society, if you want to live in a community of people, those people have to also matter to you. They have to factor into your decision-making process about your conduct and your actions. But I'm sorry to have to tell you, but your rights have to be balanced against the rights of everybody else. That's the only way it can work. You don't have the structure of your society didn't grow organically out of family units. It didn't grow organically out of family, tribe, clan, nation, whatever. It's all artificial. It's just people coming from all over the place. And it's interesting to note also that it just occurred to me now that America, being a nation of immigrants, in and of itself, is all of the evidence you need about how badly Europe sucked. So if you want to talk about how great Europe is, well, why does America exist then? America exists because Europe was a miserable place to live. And that's why everybody was trying to get out of there. To the point where a complete unsettled wilderness sounded better to them than living in your wonderful Western civilization, and facing the, hostile natives and whatnot, according to the narrative. But, so if because this is why also our way, the Muslim way, whether it's Malays or the Arabs or wherever, even I'm sure in Somalia and the Muslim African countries, and even in the non-Muslim global South countries, where they have grown from a traditional structure because they've been there that's their land, that's where they've always been. They have a whole history there. You think that we don't get it about civil liberty and freedom and individuality. The West, you think we don't get it. You don't get structure. You don't get unity. You don't get solidarity. You don't understand the entire nation working as a unit. And hierarchy, respecting hierarchy, because it has grown organically, and it's been proven over the course of time that this is the best way to do things. The structures of authority in the Muslim world grew out of traditional structures of authority. So like Mohammed bin Zayed, Mohammed bin Salman, or whatever, they were going to be the leaders anyway. If you call him prime minister, or you call him whatever, it doesn't matter what his title is. He's the head of the tribe, and the tribe support him, and he's proven his worthiness of that. That's why, for example, That's why you have de facto leaders in the Arab world. Mohammed bin Zayed was the de facto leader of the UAE before he was the leader, because Khalifa was not qualified. He was the official ruler of the UAE, Khalifa bin Zayed, but he was completely incompetent. So no one thought of him actually as the ruler. It was a title. He was a figurehead. But the de facto ruler was Mohammed bin Zayed, because he earned that position by accomplishments. The point is, you're earning your way. You prove your leadership, and then you have it, and then it's respected. And that's how it's like the same in the old days. Who becomes the Mukhtar? It's, you prove it, you become the, and like the in the old days, how someone is considered Ahl al-Hal wal-Aqd, because they proved their value in the society. They proved their power and their influence. Which is why, like, when the first person to give bay'ah to Abu Bakr was Umar, it more or less meant that Umar is going to be the next one, because he's the most powerful guy after Abu Bakr. Because when he gave bay'ah, everybody gave bay'ah. He ended any discussion about who it would be. So yeah, when Umar gave the bay'ah to Abu Bakr, then it was like, in and of itself, is an acknowledgement of who's the next most powerful and most respected and most influential person in this ummah. It's Umar. The Saudis, like the reality is that America, like, it's alhamdulillah, it's less so now, but at the time that he was talking, we're talking about right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when it was in the early 90s, when it was basically became the so-called unipolar world, and there was one only remaining superpower. Last man standing was America, and they literally, I can't remember who said it, but it was more. I can't. It's also not an exact quote, but basically said, "Now we can do whatever we want." Now we don't even have to pretend multilateralism is a thing because the Soviets are gone. Now we just run everything now, and that was a reality. That was a real thing. What would you have the Saudis do? What would you have them do? And this is something that it took me a long time to figure out. That just because you're doing something that America wants you to do doesn't mean you're doing it because America wants you to do it. You're looking at the available options that you have, and you see that this option serves our interests. That actually, when they were obeying America, what they were doing was serving their interests, serving the interests of their nation, serving the interests of their country. They're serving the interests of their country. Yes, that coincided with what America wanted. And part of that has to do with the fact that had it not coincided with what America wanted, how would that be in your best interest as a country, given what America does? And you admire Yemen, and you admire the Houthis, and you admire Iran, and you admire whatever Hezbollah in Lebanon. Okay, because if you were in Iran, you wouldn't be in Iran. You'd be in California because of what they have had to go through, what they've had to suffer as a result of the sanctions, as a result of the international pressure on them. You couldn't stand the pressure. I don't think you can stand it when there's not enough foam on your mocha.
Yeah.
But so if you were in Iran dealing with what those people were dealing with, and I obviously I don't have direct experience, but I know Iranians, and I know Sunnis, I know people from Bandar Abbas, and what their life has been like, and how miserable their life has been in terms of financial opportunities. It's very difficult for them, especially for Sunnis, and you wouldn't be able to stand that. But that was them doing the things that you think all of them should do. That was Iran taking the defiant position, taking the confrontational, aggressive position that you think everybody should take. And so you think, yeah, everybody should be willing to pay the price that I won't have to pay because I'm sitting in anyway in the West. But everybody should be willing to do that. And if they're not willing to do that, then they're hypocrites. Okay, well, what does that make you? You're living in the country that is responsible for imposing the consequences for the defiance that you want them, our countries, to exercise. I mean, these Muslims in the West, you're like someone who's standing behind the gang leader. You're in the gang, and that gang leader is threatening the other gang, and you're behind him, telling the other gang, "Are you going to take that? Are you just going to stand there and take that?" And you're in the same gang. You should, man up. You should do something about it. You shouldn't let him talk to you like that. Your gang leader talking to them, like, buy a ticket, move, and then go. People will look at you like you're crazy, and it is crazy because you're too old to be that stupid. Because either you're like you should at least have reached the level of maturity in your age to know politics isn't my area. So there's something crazy about you that you think you have to talk about politics.